US President Donald Trump has officially confirmed that he reimbursed his lawyer, who paid a porn star to hush up her claims of an affair. The president's lawyer, Michael Cohen, has previously said he paid Stephanie Clifford $130,000 of hush money shortly before the 2016 election. Ms. Clifford, who goes by the name Stormy Daniels, alleges that she and Mr. Trump had sex in a hotel room in 2006. A new financial disclosure filed yesterday shows the president paid Mr. Cohen over $100,000 of unspecified expenses in 2016. Jordan, how serious is this for the president, I should say?
Well, I guess it'll depend on to what degree it reveals his lying. So I can't tell yet. I mean, part of me thinks it might be better for the political system in general to leave the private lives of the leaders alone. I mean, that's more of a proclivity in Britain, I think, to leave the private lives of politicians alone. But if it indicates well, family life, anyways, it seems, compared to the United States.
Right, but what does it say about Donald Trump?
Well,
I mean, he
says he has strange taste in women.
Right,
that would be the starters.
And you talked about lying and whether there is an allegation here that he has lied. If he denies having had an affair, why pay hush money?
Well, that's a complicated problem, because sometimes people pay hush money so that a problem just goes away, even if there isn't guilt involved, although it does raise the specter of some sort of involvement. Sometimes it's easier to pay someone who's harassing you to go away than it is to do anything else about them. Now, I don't know whether that's an appropriate tactic or not, but I can certainly see why it might be one that beckons to you.
What does it say to you about Donald Trump?
Well, I think in the end, with these things, it's always the cover-up that gets you. It's not so much the deed, it's the trying to sort of lie your way out of it. But the big thing will come down to whether he's breached federal law with these funds coming from his campaign funds. And sometimes, it's a bit like the Al Capone thing. Sometimes it's a technicality that actually can get you into lots of trouble. But the fascinating thing about Stormy Daniels is that she is a woman that will just not be silent. She's a sort of female version of Trump in many ways, this sort of blonde, larger than life, I'm not going away, I'm not
she's taking him on in that
sense.
She's
absolutely taking him on. And also there are other sort of more malign parts to her story as well. She alleges that somebody sort of threatened her and her daughter's safety in a car park at one point. Again, if there's any links back to, Team Trump on this would look terrible. But what strikes me fascinating about her, no matter how much she gets abused, she gets a lot of abuse about her profession, the fact she's an adult actress and all this thing, she is a woman who is not going away.
Right, making it difficult for Donald Trump. Would you have voted for Donald Trump if you'd been able to vote in that election?
I don't know. I mean, when I was watching the American election, I lived in the States for quite a long time, so I have a real affinity for the U.S. And when I was watching the election, for me it was a foregone conclusion during the entire process that I would have voted for Clinton, because I thought she had the experience to handle the position. But the closer the election got, the more I could feel a part of me think, yeah, if I walked into that voting booth, I could imagine in a fit of pique checking Trump and saying to hell with it. And so, but
what would have caused the fit of pique if you said you identified with Hillary Clinton at that time? What changed then? What would have changed at the last moment?
I'm not happy with the tilt of the Democrats towards identity politics as a substitute for their conventional, focus on the valid concerns of the working class.
Okay, so you're unhappy with the identity politics you say is associated with the Democrats in this particular case and Hillary Clinton. But doesn't Donald Trump indulge in identity politics to just the same degree, just different groups and different identities?
Yeah, but I would say that the sort of identity politics that Clinton engaged in cuts a lot closer to the bone for me because of my position in academia and the overwhelming predominance of the radical left amongst the humanities and social sciences.
Okay, well, that's your personal experience. But let's just take a look and a listen to Donald Trump talking here.
We have people coming into the country or trying to come in. We're stopping a lot of them. But we're taking people out of the country. You wouldn't believe how bad these people are. These aren't people. These are animals. And we're taking them out of the country at a level and at a rate that's never happened before. And because of the weak laws, they come in fast. We get them, we release them, we get them again, we bring them out. It's crazy.
Right, just to explain, this is Donald Trump talking about illegal immigrants, but describing them, some of them, as animals. I mean, isn't that sort of rhetoric identity politics, just a different kind of identity politics?
Well, I think you could make a case for that. I think it does appeal fundamentally to the distinction between conservatives and liberals, however, at a deep level, because conservatives are much more concerned with the integrity of borders and the fortification of structures within them, and liberals are more concerned with loosening the strictures between things. So I don't know if it's identity politics exactly with him so much as just appealing to his constituency.
But does that mean that you are sort of saying there is a case, a legitimate case, for calling some illegal immigrants animals?
Well, I suppose it depends on who he's referring to. If they're mass rapists, for example, then there might be a case. I mean, there are things that people can do that are more barbaric than anything an animal might conceive of. So I'm not justifying that, but I don't know precisely what he was referring to.
Well, I think Donald Trump plays a very base game. I think he does actually, ironically, pushing back against identity politics. I think he does do his own form of identity politics. And a lot of identity politics, you could argue, is about creating division. And he is the master of creating division. And his rhetoric around immigration, referring to human beings as animals.
Or Mexicans as rapists.
Well, the Muslim ban, as somebody from a Muslim background as well. But also at the same time failing to tackle things like gun crime. You know, there's a huge proportion of shooters in America who tend to be white men, but he's never prepared to take them on or challenge them in any way as well. His game is always division, and how he can pit people against each other. That's how he sort of does reasonably well at the moment.
All right, let's leave it there for the moment. Now, the maximum stake on fixed odds betting terminals will be reduced to £2 under new rules announced by the government. At the moment, people can bet up to £100 every 20 seconds. And it's been claimed the machines can lead to gambling addiction. The Association of British Bookmakers has warned that there could be job losses and argued the problem of gambling addiction was a lot more complicated than just cracking down on the machines. Let me bring our other guests in. Aisha, first of all, do you back what the government is doing?
Yeah, I do. It's absolutely the right decision. And also I do pay tribute to Matt. He's campaigned really long and hard for this. And to take some mea culpa, I think the last Labour government did make a mistake by, deregulating this to this degree, and there was a proliferation of these sort of machines. But I think to Mark's point about the economics, I think there is a knock-on benefit which you might not be readily able to capture immediately in terms of, if you look at the sort of opportunity, cost and damage of a lot of the effects of gambling, it is a blight on people's lives. It can affect their mental health. People can become so addicted they sort of lose their jobs. You know, there is a big kind of
there's
social,
a cost to society.
There is a cost. And
Although it hasn't worsened since the rates of problem gambling were the same in 1997 when Labour came to power. So it's not obvious that actually the gambling liberalisation under the Labour government from 1997 onwards worsened the problem in aggregate.
The ease at which people can get into, as you said about the casino, you're right. I mean, it is a wee bit, like if we wanted to go and do a bit of gambling, then we'd have to put a bit of effort into it. We could go into a betting shop really, really easily and get onto one of these machines. So there are some natural obstacles.
Not so much on your computer, which you can switch on immediately.
No,
right,
I do, and I think
we'll
that's
come
the
on to
next
the
thing that
online.
needs to be looked at.
Can I just talk about addiction? I mean, listening to this discussion, do you accept and agree with Matt that the way these particular machines are devised leads to a much quicker route to addiction?
Yeah, I think the clinical literature on that is clear, and the machines are designed precisely for that purpose. They use a kind of reinforcement strategy that can hook people in very rapidly. And the problem with them often is that they're people who have cognitive impairments or who are elderly, who are suffering from cognitive control problems, are particularly susceptible.
Hello. You want to see more of me? Subscribe below.